Welcome to the Global Conversation. The European Union is facing a recession of historic proportions due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The European Commission has made a proposal for a budget for the period of 2021 to 2027, including a recovery fund. Our guest is the European Commissioner for Budget, Johannes Hann. Mr. Commissioner, thank you very much for joining us. The main receivers of this recovery fund, worth 750 billion euros, are some of the biggest European economies. Italy, Spain, France, Germany. They were some of the most affected countries by COVID-19. There are some called the frugal countries, the Netherlands or Austria, for example, that don't want to spend so much money. What is your perception of who is willing to make concessions and to contribute to bridge this gap?
Each European country exports 2/3 of its export to another European country. So if we want to recover, to kickstart the economy, we have to do it everywhere, ideally at the same time, because we have supply chains, delivery chains, etc. And therefore we have to support those who are more in need than others. We have not only made the needs assessment, what is necessary, but also the way how the money should be distributed, should be provided, but by the way, not as a free lunch, but linked to certain reform measures, which, by the way, should not only help countries to recover, but also to be more resilient, to become more resilient, to be better equipped if there is a next crisis.
In the end, they'll need to have some sort of balance between how much money is disbursed through grants, which means not paying it back, and loans. And the frugal four are notably known, Austria, the Netherlands, Sweden and Denmark, by wanting a different ratio, not 2/3 should be released as grants. What is your view on that?
The so-called frugal ones should understand that it's about an investment. We invest in the better performance of the European economy. And here I think everybody has to contribute and to understand the interdependencies. For instance, the country I know best, Austria. For Austria, the second biggest export destination, if you like, is Italy. So if Italy is not in a good shape, it has an immediate impact on the Austrian economy, where every fourth job is depending on export.
Which concrete examples you can give of reforms so that the countries can access the funds?
Croatia is an excellent little country of the European Union, but it's the country in Europe which is most depending on revenues from the tourism sector. Around 25% of its national output is based on tourism. So if there is something which affects the tourism sector, it has immediately a huge impact on the overall situation in this country. And in order to have a better risk sharing, it's in the interest of Croatia to diversify its business sector. And this is exactly what we try to achieve now, using, so to say, if you like, the corona crisis, to invest in the diversification of the economy of Croatia, which makes the country more resilient if anything happens.
There is to be an involvement of the private sector, and some member states would like this idea of creating what they call the European champions and big companies or sectors like car industry or aviation. Other member states are more keen on having a powerful small and medium-sized business. What is your view in terms of having jobs for people and at the same time a strong economy?
Small and medium-sized companies are always the backbone of an economy. They usually provide 80 to 90% of all the jobs. But on the other hand, very often small and medium-sized companies are supplier to industries. So we actually need both of it.
And speaking about raising all the money that is needed for all these proposals that you are explaining. The Commission is suggesting a tax on big corporations that get a lot of profit from the single market, even a specific tax for the digital sector, for the big tech companies. Which arguments can you use to convince member states that this is a good idea to have new taxes and to target those sectors?
We have to see, in particular when it comes to grants, how to repay it. And there are in principle two options. The first option is to have, at least in the future, higher national contributions, or to have new sources of revenues, of income, which will avoid that member states have to chip in later. And I don't see any appetite amongst all the member states to have in the future higher contributions. So the second option is the more realistic one. We are not targeting with our proposals individual European taxpayers, not at all, because they're already suffering a lot from this crisis, and in many countries there's a rather high tax level. But we are also pursuing with this idea our political priorities.
You said that Europe needs to be competitive also in a world where other geopolitical powers like China and the US having their own recovery packages. Is this budget strong enough to get the European Union that position of a big power?
If we are getting this budget, I think we are well equipped. There will be enough financial firepower to cope with the current crisis, and more important, to help Europe and its member states, its people, to come out even stronger from this crisis than before.
Last question. Do you think that an agreement will be on the table already in July, or maybe only after the summer, September, when Germany will have more time to play its role of coordinating the European Union presidency?
No, I expect July, and here I have to say the President of the European Council, Charles Michel, is in the lead to organize this, and I know that he is preparing everything, and I'm very confident, and I also believe that member states understand the urgency because they feel every day the temperature on the ground concerning the crisis, and to react properly to it.
Commissioner Johannes Hann, thank you very much for being with us.
Great pleasure, thank you.
Thank you.